Madeline here. Um, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and the suite inspection was yesterday, and it was just such a snapshot of the overwhelming ableism and difficulty that I'm faced with. So the fire inspectors were fine with what we'd done. They said it was good. I passed. But the property portfolio manager came this time, and he was, I don't have a nice word for what he was. He walked into my washroom and he said, "Do you use your washroom?" Like, just super disparagingly. And then at a different point he was opening my cupboards and like disparaging my groceries. And the fire inspector that was the same one that came last time was female, and he just didn't want to like hear her when she said I passed. And he was going on about that I had put the electronics, that the cooking electronic things that the hospital had recommended, that all had timers on top of the stove because I don't use the stove. And it was just like the measure of infantilizing and patronizing, and he totally ignored the woman until the male fire inspector came in. He wasn't even willing to listen, and he said, "Well, why not unplug the stove?" I was like, "It's fine with me. I haven't used it for 5 years, you know." But then he's saying like, "Oh, we're going to come back in 3 months to make sure you're upkeeping," and it's like, "Oh, want you to do these other things," but he wasn't specific about them. Like, I took out my phone. I was going to make notes because, I mean, the stuff he was talking about wasn't under his auspice. Like, I passed the fire inspector. Like, if I have things on top of my dressers, like, what does that have to do with you? You know? And he was rude to my friend. Thank God my friend was there. One of my other friends said, "You should have recorded him." Like, yeah, I should have recorded him. Um, but she wants to complain to like his superiors. But like to have misogyny on top of ableism is extra fun. Gender bias on my disease. And so, like, I need to be focusing on advocacy. Like, how do I stay alive in January? How do I make it through December? How do I make it through February? Like, this is what I need to be focusing on. And it's like one of the female fire inspectors said, "Oh, you must feel so much better." I was like, "No, I don't. Not even a little bit." Pushing myself out of my energy envelope like this has been catastrophic. And like, how do I explain in 4 minutes the 44 years of ableism and compression? And I mean, the only way I know how to describe it is it's like if a serial killer like pushes you to the edge of a cliff and says, "I'm going to give you, like, I'm going to shoot you or you can jump. I'm going to give you that choice." But it's not a choice, you know, made for me. While I get to be empowered, it's not really a choice. It can't get a category of coverage. It can't get housekeeping. I mean, and that's not to say that there aren't blessings. Like, it's a great blessing that a friend helped me get this phone when the other one's CPU was dying. It's a great blessing that, like, one of the friends who's been helping me, she got me new bedding. Throw out my bedding that, at different points hadn't been washed for a year. It's a hard thing on a bedding, and it was pretty gross. So we threw it out. It wasn't washable. And I wasn't expecting her to, but it's pretty and it's soft and it smells good. And, why that shouldn't feel like a luxury. And I'm so exhausted. And I said to a couple of friends yesterday, like, if the friend who was with me during the inspection hadn't been there, I have to admit, I was so in pain. Like, the pain levels were so high. I was so tired. I was so overwhelmed. And it was just that, like in the Monty Python sketch, Just Another Wafer More, where the rotund guy in the restaurant is eating and eating and eating, and then they come over, "Oh, like, you should try this," and then he explodes. Like, kind of what I felt like yesterday. And it's not the only time I felt like that, but it was just really hard to pull myself together and like get to sleep at all. But now I'm awake because the pain of pushing myself for this past month has just been too much. I mean, oh, so I don't know. I'm gonna pay for this. This is, and then they want more? More of what? Like way to not be. I'm like, oh, we're gonna write it down and we'll send it to you. Like, if you actually had things, you would just say them. Like he's just making up shit, you know. So my friend is gonna, like I said, complain. And another friend was so upset with what happened. He said, "Let me call them. Let me." And I was like, "Okay, well, let's see what happens with the friend who was here." And he's offered to try to be here if they do indeed come back. But I left a voicemail with my MLA's office and I sent an email, like with the dyslexia and the fibro and the ME, that's always been a nightmare to. But I wrote an email anyway with energy I don't have. But, and then I had I mean, it's pros and cons. Like, it looks like, I don't know until I know, but it looks like the night back brace might be approved. And, we finally sorted out the compression sock. But it's like all these things I still have to deal with, like of everyday supports on top of the advocacy and on top of just basic self care and on top of my apartment, which I don't have help with. Like and I don't have a category of coverage for my disease. I have to get a category of coverage for my disease. I need tests. I need treatments. I found treatments. I just can't get coverage for them. So it's all GoFundMe. Like, just, and it was funny. The 15-minute video I made that I sent a friend, I'm waiting to hear back from my advocate on. I talked with him briefly and he said, I don't usually see you when you're that broken. And you could tell it really hurt him to see me like this, like to see me, be, that I can't sit up, that like, and I even know this fire inspector today, they're looking at me and like I'm held together by tenacity, like I was upright on tenacity and only tenacity. Because you can do that for limited periods of time with a mitochondrial disorder, but you always pay for it. As I've said in the podcast many times, a physician said to me, working outside your energy envelope with this disease is like borrowing money from the mob. You will pay for it and then some. And so feel like I'm yelling from the void. I don't know. I just I need a breather. I need some room to recover. I need to be able to do treatments at proper amounts and stop stretching them out. I need housekeeping. Like, it's not sustainable for my friend to come all the time. Like, that's not sustainable. And then what happens with my tenancy? And I'll die in a care home. Like, that's a death sentence straight off with this disease. And I shouldn't have to anyway. I mean, like, humiliation on humiliation, difficulty on difficulty. I'm worn out. I'm worn out. And I've been sort of surviving a bit on anger, although anger is not an emotional preset of mine. And today I'm a little worried that I might become depressed because of the difficulty. And I don't have room for the fatigue of depression on top of the mitochondrial disorder. I know in June I got, because I'd been going month to month, I didn't know if I'd survive from month to month for just too long. And it just wore me down. And I'm worried that that's going to happen now, you know? So, like, friends having a Christmas party next week. And I just want to pull my energy together to be able to go. I need something that's fun for fun's sake, I just need that so much. And so, so yeah. I'm doing what I can do. I'm sharing what's happening to me. I'm not keeping it a secret. I don't know what else to do. I don't know how to get a mainstream news organization to tell my story so the GoFundMe gets enough money that I can focus on a human rights case rather than do I get to live next week. That I can get housekeeping so I can get my landlords off my back. It's just such basic things I can't get. I've never been able to get. All I seem to be getting from every single solitary level of bureaucracy and government is hurry up and die. Hurry up and die. How is that who we are as Canadians? How is this acceptable? And I just, so I don't know. 2 o'clock in the morning, desperation.